According to the British Office for National Statistics, Frank was the 15th most popular name for English boys in 1914. But according to me, if you were a member of an Antarctic expedition in the early 20th century, Frank was number one. Here's four of them to show you why. First Frank off the rank, Frank Debenham, aka Deb. Junior geologist on Scott's Terra Nova expedition, born 1883 on Gundungurra country in Bowral, Australia. Deb started out as an English philosophy major and taught at the Armidale School before having a classic quarter-life crisis and going back to uni to study geology under the famed Professor Edworth David. He hadn't even graduated when he joined Scott's expedition, proof that good looks will get you everywhere, including Antarctica. Down south, Deb worked under fellow University of Sydney graduate Thomas Griffith Taylor on surveying the geography surrounding Cape Evans, which included a side quest with Charles Wright and Edgar Evans in the McMurdo Dry Valleys. Unfortunately, Deb's involvement in broader expedition affairs was cut short by 2 arrows to the knee, although he did get another mini-expedition down at Granite Harbour. After the expedition wrapped up, Deb moved to Cambridge to write up his findings, got tangled up in the war, got married, had 6 kids, became a professor of geography, and, oh yeah, founded the Scott Polar Research Institute. So next time you're looking for some hot polar gossip in the archives, say hi to Jessamine for me. What's this? Another Australian? Frankly, we're teaming with them. This one's James Francis Hurley, aka Frank, who was born in 1885 in Sydney on Gadigal country. Best known for his work as Shackleton's photographer on the Endurance expedition, Hurley already had polar experience on the Australian Antarctic expedition under Douglas Mawson. According to Hurley, he was so keen to join the expedition that he cornered Mawson on a train to get an interview. R.I.P. Frank, you would have loved cold emailing. While with Mawson at Cape Denison, Hurley shot what would eventually become Home of the Blizzard, which became a hit in England and caught the attention of Ernest Shackleton, who hired him for Endurance on the condition that he make an equal banger of a film for his expedition. You know what happens next. Endurance gets stuck in pack ice and sinks, Shackleton and co. do some heroic feats to get back to civilization, yada yada. But let's get back to Hurley, who, after surviving the expedition, became one of Australia's official wartime photographers, clashing with historian Charles Bean over his creative interpretation of battlefield reportage. He went on the Banzar expedition with Mawson in 1929, was an official wartime photographer again in World War II, but on some highly questionable anthropological expeditions, got married, had 4 kids, and ended up inspiring a couple of scenes in Happy Feet. Jumping across the ditch, we've got Frank Worsley, aka Wuzzles or Skipper, born 1872 in Aotearoa, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Worsley was another one of Shackleton's special little guys who started his career at sea by jumping through the ranks of the New Zealand Shipping Company before jumping ship to the Merchant Navy. According to Worsley, while bunking in London between jobs, he had a dream that he was navigating a ship between icebergs as they floated down Burlington Street. Clearly, this was a premonition, so the next day he went to Burlington Street, saw a sign on one of the doors advertising crew for Shackleton's Endurance expedition, and went, damn, okay, I guess I'm going to Antarctica then. Worsley was an absolute gun when it came to navigation, which was vital when Endurance sank and the crew squiggled their way around the Weddell Sea in lifeboats. After landing on Elephant Island and realizing, oh, this place sucks, Shackleton chose Worsley to guide a 6-man crew across the Southern Ocean to seek help on South Georgia. The crew was saved, Worsley went back to the Navy for the rest of the war, hunted some U-boats, hooked up with Shackleton in Russia for a bit, founded a shipping company with his buddy Joseph Stenhouse after the war, got married, hooked up again with Shackleton on the Quest expedition, but then Shackleton died, and it was a whole thing. So he came back north to do some work in the Arctic and managed to find some time for a spot of treasure hunting along the way. Look, it's easier to list what Worsley didn't do, and I think he'd be pleased for me to run out of time to describe it all. Finally, to round out Shackleton's Frank fan club, there's John Robert Francis Wilde, aka Frank, or as he hated to be called, Frankie, born 1873 in Skelton, Yorkshire. Known in life and death as Shackleton's right-hand man, Wilde joined the Merchant Navy at 16 and eventually became second officer before hopping over to the Royal Navy. He first went to Antarctica as a member of Scott's Discovery expedition as an able seaman, which is where he met Shackleton and proved himself a dependable crewman. Wilde would go on to travel to Antarctica a further 4 times, with Mawson on Aurora and with Shackleton on Nimrod, Endurance, and Quest. Over its extensive time in Antarctica, Wilde became a sledging expert and was chosen as part of Shackleton's team to reach the South Pole in 1908, falling short by a near 97 miles. During the Endurance expedition, he was appointed leader on Elephant Island and kept the crew alive and in relatively good spirits for 4 months before rescue. Thanks, Short King. On return, he was, of course, involved in the war, before trying his hand at farming in South Africa, which ended pretty badly. He floated around South Africa and Eswatini for a while, going bankrupt, and joined Shackleton's Quest expedition for one last jaunt with the boss. He married twice before passing away in 1939, and his ashes were held in South Africa until 2011, when they were interred at the right-hand side of Shackleton's grave in South Georgia. And there we have it. 4 Franks, 5 minutes. My sincerest apologies to all the Franks I didn't have time to cover today. As you can see, we're swimming in them. Thanks to TerraCamp for graciously allowing me to yap, and I hope I've piqued your interest in this, the heroic age of Franks.